Hey friends, hope you're all doing well. So on this bright and sunny Sunday morning, I'm going to get into the topic of having friends as a Christian. Obviously, you have your family that you're born into, and you also have people in your life that you're close to that aren't related to you, but you have a relationship with, and these are your friends. And as a Christian, it's very important to have a community of fellow believers that you can do life with, that you can share personal stuff about yourself with, and that will lift people that will lift you up and make you feel heard. So it is very important to have Christian friends because there's the Bible verse that says it is not good for a man to be alone. And that's referring to finding a man a wife or a helpmeet, but it can also refer to just friends and community. So obviously, like as a Christian, your core friend group should consist of other Christians because as they say, iron sharpens iron. But a lot of you likely have some friends in your life that aren't Christians, and I'm going to talk about like my personal opinion on how we should handle that as believers. So, that being said, it's totally fine to have friends that are not walking with the Lord. And I would say that everyone should, because all of us were lost sinners that didn't know the Lord at one point in our life. And it's perfectly normal to have friends that even all these years later might still not be walking with the Lord. And those relationship dynamics can get a little tricky to handle, especially if you get saved and the person who was one of your best friends that you did things with all the time, they are not saved and they are still into the secular lifestyle that you have walked away from. And I would say that in situations like that, like having a secular friend would be, you can keep that friendship with them, but it will likely look different from what it did before you were saved. And I would not encourage throwing away a friendship just because you're a believer and the other person isn't, but I would encourage you to be cautious about what kind of interactions you have with that person, because since we're all sinners, it's a lot easier for us to get sucked into worldly activities than it is to bring an unsaved friend into Christ's community. Like, I guarantee you, it's a lot more tempting for someone to agree to go to the bar with all their secular friends than it is for a group of Christians to invite an unsaved person to church. Like, deep down, a lot of us probably want to do that, even if we say we don't, because we can be very disciplined when it comes to exerting self-control and not going into environments that encourage a worldly, sinful lifestyle, but we can still fall into it no matter how good we say we are. So I would say that if you have a friend that is not a believer, I think one-on-one hangouts with them in a neutral environment or inviting them to hang out with Christians is far superior to seeing that friend with other secular friends. Because if it's you and four unsaved friends at the bar, then who do you think is going to have more influence? You, the Christian friend that has said you won't get drunk or go home with another man or woman at the bar? Or those four secular friends of yours that are still living in that lifestyle and are very likely to try and goad you into doing those things that you've said you won't do? It's probably going to be a little harder than you might think otherwise. However, if you were to bring that friend to a hangout with your Christian friends, that unsaved friend would likely notice that you're acting different from their worldly friends. And God can use that interaction to really change their heart and possibly lead them to the Lord. And I would say that with inviting a secular friend into a Christian hangout, you're inviting them into your world. You're not giving up your world to be in theirs. And I think that's the biggest key difference between a healthy friendship with an unbeliever versus an unhealthy friendship with an unbeliever. And obviously, with your Christian friends, it's important to make sure you keep the activities on the up and up. Like, don't be doing things that could lead one or more of you into temptation, because none of us are exempt from it since we're all sinners. But if you have a bunch of Christian friends, then it's probably not a good idea to meet up at an environment where sin thrives, like a bar or club or any other setting that sin can occur. So I would say that as far as having Christian friendships goes, it's important to have them, and it's not good for man to be alone. It's not good to be isolated, but it's far better to be alone than with people that drag you down and away from the Lord. Because there was a time in my life where I didn't really have any close friends because I didn't know Christ at the time, and I didn't really have anyone in my life that could lead me closer to Him. But I also didn't want to hang out with any of the secular peers my age. So that's why that if you are currently alone and isolated, the best thing you can do is get plugged into a local church community and find other brothers and sisters at that church who will lift you up and help sharpen you and sanctify you. So that's all I got for today. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Enjoy this nice weather if you're having it like me, and I'll catch you all next time. Take care.